My name is Lee Taylor. I'm a veterinarian with Pfizer Animal Health, and today I'm going to talk to you about using your records to better define production problems. So we're going to cover off defining the problem. So to do that, you need to collect the data and you need to ask yourself a number of questions: who, what, where, when and why. We'll go into that further. Then you need to focus on managing the manageable, and then we'll make some concluding remarks. Production problems can be complex. In an extensive environment, deaths often go unnoticed, and it's often only in retrospect that we get to properly investigate any particular problem or production loss that has occurred. Often what may appear to be one problem is actually multiple problems that all happen concurrently. There's a saying that describing the problem is half of the solution, and that's a process that I want to take you through today, because if you follow this process, it will help you to define the problem, but it will also guide you to a narrower list of potential possible causes for that problem, and allows you to focus in on those particular problems and disregard things that, having described the problem, are very unlikely to be potential causes. Defining the problem. The process to define the problem involves a number of steps. The first step is data collection, and this is as simple as collecting up your stock numbers and using those stock numbers to generate production indices. The second step is asking who is affected. Is the problem localized to heifers, or is it localized to cows? It may be a problem that is occurring in steers or growing cattle. The next question is, what is the syndrome? Is it just a failure to get pregnant? Is it a failure of pregnant cows to calve? The next question is, where is it occurring? Is it occurring in a particular age or management group of cattle, or in a particular paddock? The next step is, when is it occurring? Are there more late calves than early calves? Is it occurring at a particular time of year, or is it occurring in one year and hasn't occurred before in other years when things have been similar? Why is it occurring is the final question. Answering all the above questions will direct you to a group of possible causes. It won't necessarily give you the cause, but it will give you a very much narrower list than if we hadn't gone through this process. So we're going to go through these things in more detail in a stepwise process. So the first step of data collection involves looking at your stock numbers. So you may want to look at the number of cows or heifers that you joined last year, assuming the problem is a reproductive problem or a problem with lack of calves. It's a very common problem that I'm presented with. So the first thing you want to know is how many animals were actually joined to a bull last year, and then break that down into cows or heifers. Then you want to look at the number of calves branded in this year. Then you want to look at the number of calves weaned this year. And then if we follow through with this, we will then look at the number of cattle turned off. So we're following each cohort of cattle as they go through the production system, and using our records to look at how many animals are being presented at each of those critical time points. Then we might look at this for at least the past 4 years, because there's a whole range of potential seasonal effects on those figures. And it's also possible that there could be, in year-round mating systems, for example, that there may be carryover from one year to the next. So we need to, rather than look at absolute figures in one year versus the other, we need to look at this over a longer period of time and see if there's any trends that might be developing. The next question that we want to answer is, who is affected? Are the issues that we're looking at occurring in heifers, first calvers, mature cows, or is the problem worse in male versus female calves, for example? All of those things can be determined from doing comparisons between available production records, assuming that the production records are detailed enough to give you that information. Most producers will generally manage heifers separate from cows, so heifers versus cows is generally easy to determine. First calvers can be a little bit of a problem in some herds. Most producers definitely have enough detail in their records to know how many male or female calves they brand. So this information is nearly always available on most operations. The next question is, what is the syndrome? Is there a low pregnancy rate? Assuming that pregnancy diagnosis is being undertaken. Is the pregnancy rate okay, but the calving distribution skewed? So are we getting more late calves compared to early calves, instead of having the optimum calving distribution where we get the vast majority of calves born within the first 1 to 2 months of the calving period? What are the losses from pregnancy testing to branding? What are the losses from branding to weaning? And what are the losses from weaning to turn off? The next question we want to look at is, where is it occurring? We want to compare the losses between identifiable management groups. So between different paddocks, between different properties, and between different years. And as we mentioned earlier, between heifers, young cows, and old cows. The next question is, when is it occurring? We can determine a lot of the when question from looking at calving distribution data. Calving distributions can be determined prior to calving by using estimated fetal ages at pregnancy testing. The graph in the top right hand corner of this slide shows an example of different calving distributions for different weight groups of heifers at pregnancy testing. As you can see, the heavier heifers have a better calving distribution. The lighter heifers have a lot more spread out calving distribution, but also have a lot more empty or not detectably pregnant animals in those weight ranges. So the simple thing that can be deducted from this information is that heavier animals got in calf at a higher rate, but they also got in calf earlier and will calve within the desired calving window, which will be presumably the late spring, early summer months when there's plenty of feed around. It's also beneficial to look at this information over a number of years. Is the problem just occurring this year, or has it happened every year? And that's a very important question to ask. The next question is, why is it occurring? Failure to get pregnant or early abortions can narrow down a number of potential losses, or a number of potential causes of those losses. The losses are from preg testing to branding. That identifies another bucket of potential causes. If the losses are from branding to weaning, then again we have a narrow list of potential causes that we can focus on. Post-weaning losses, a combination of the above. Losses in heifers or cows. If you lose the cow, you'll also lose the calf. So are those sort of losses occurring? Do you have too many late calves? So each of those identifiable syndromes has a range of, as a relatively narrow range of potential causes and potential common causes that we can focus on ruling in or ruling out. So now we're going to go through possible causes for each of the syndromes that we've just identified. So common possible causes of a failure to get pregnant or early abortions can include bull failure due to fighting, 3-day sickness or bovine ephemeral fever. Can be due to low body condition score of the cows or heifers that are too light at mating. It can also be due to venereal diseases like vibriosis or trichomoniasis, which can interfere with both pregnancy and ability to retain pregnancies. The next potential possible group of causes are those for losses from preg testing to branding. In this case, you're dealing with a potentially large window of time, unfortunately, and a lot of potential things that can occur in that time. However, there are still a relatively narrow list of potential identifiable causes. So the things that can cause abortion, so it could be due to abortion, could be due to dystocia or calving difficulty, it could be due to mismothering of calves after birth. In terms of common disease agents that may be involved, the potential list includes pestivirus, leptospirosis, and neospora, which is a protozoan parasite carried by dogs and spread to cattle. It could be vitamin A deficiency, which has been identified as a potential cause of calf loss following very dry years. Could be calf scours, where calves pick up bugs soon after birth from their mothers, and that ultimately results in them getting scours and dying. It could be simply predation due to wild dogs or other predators. The next identifiable group is losses from from branding to weaning. So these may include things associated with blood loss, tetanus, associated with castration wounds. Could be associated, and other surgical procedures done on calves. So could also be associated with blackleg due to bumping and bruising at branding. Could be due to malignant edema from infection of castration wounds. Could be due to coccidiosis. In terms of disease agents, could be due to coccidiosis or pestivirus, which are diseases which can occur in calves post-weaning. Particularly in terms of pestivirus, could be due to the death of persistently infected calves. Finally, it could just be simply due to worms, particularly in the higher rainfall areas. Continuing on, the next syndrome that we want to look at is post-weaning losses. So losses post-weaning can be those involved with pestivirus, again generally due to the loss of persistently infected calves. Can be due to blackleg in young rapidly growing animals. Can be due to bovine ephemeral fever or 3-day sickness. Can be due to tick fever. Can be due to parasitism due to worms or ticks. Can be due to plant poisonings or problems with poor water quality, such as saline water, water which is heavily contaminated with algal blooms, like blue-green algae and other similar waterborne algae that can result in stock death. The next syndrome is you may be dealing with a combination of all of the above, and one disease which can cause low pregnancy rate, losses from pregnancy testing to branding, losses from branding to weaning, and post-weaning losses is pestivirus. And that is due to the wide range of potential losses, all stemming from the infection of a pregnant cow with that virus, and those losses subsequently occur over a wide range of time periods. If you're dealing with heifer or cow and calf losses, the likely potential causes include dystocia or calving difficulty, where both the cow and the calf die. You don't always lose the cow and the calf if you have calving problems. You may just have calves dying from dystocia, as we mentioned earlier. But in this case, if you are missing heifers and cows, then it is important to consider that calving difficulty may be responsible. Other common disease problems include botulism, and then of course there is malnutrition due to poor body or maintenance of poor body condition due to lack of available feed, or potentially problems associated with pica or phosphorus and associated or secondary to phosphorus deficiency and or protein deficiency. Finally, there's too many late calves or a skewed calving distribution. This can be due to issues with bull soundness, problems with vibriosis and trichomoniasis or venereal diseases, as we mentioned earlier, or problems with the body condition score of the cows and the mating weight of heifers. Animals just simply not being in good enough condition to go in calf early in the calving period and subsequently taking a long time to get in calf, resulting in a very drawn out or skewed calving distribution. The next thing I want to talk about is managing the manageable. There are a lot of things that can potentially cause production losses in our production systems, some of which we have no control over. However, there are a range of things that we can easily manage. So we're going to group these into a number of different management groups. So physical problems include making sure that your bulls are reproductively sound, so conducting a bull breeding soundness examination on bulls prior to mating, ensuring that you're only using bulls that are reproductively sound. Culling of cows or heifers that don't rear calves. Those cows or heifers may have problems that preclude them from being good mothers. So it's important to have appropriate culling strategies in place. Things like mastitis, bottle teats, problems with or perpetual problems with poor mothering ability can all be removed using this procedure. Breeding pole bulls can now be successfully done using the horn pole test. This avoids the need, well, this will hopefully over time reduce the need to surgically dehorn calves, removing another potential cause of calf losses. The next broad group is nutritional causes. Nutrition can be managed in a extensive grazing situation by managing stocking rate, by carrying out early weaning to remove a significant nutritional drain on cows, generally going into the winter months, and by supplementation where necessary with things like non-protein nitrogen or phosphorus. Then there's a management group. Management is all about the doing things and making sure that there is attention to detail, keeping appropriate records and then using them. Management is about making sure that you look, plan, review and then do. So following a management cycle to ensure that any problems are detected early, that action plans are put in place to try and manage those, and then that you follow up by making sure that whatever management strategy you've put in place is actually working, and you continually refine the processes that you've been undertaking. Finally, there are disease issues. So in this area, the simple process to follow is to know your disease status. Know what diseases occur on your property and those that are not there. Manage this by prevention through biosecurity and vaccination. If you don't have a disease on your property, there may be simple steps that you can take to keep it out. If you do know that a disease is present and there is a commercial vaccine available, then you can put in place an appropriate vaccination strategy to manage that disease going forward. Ultimately, the best control of disease is through a combination of strategies. And key to all of this is having a clear understanding of the diseases that are on your farm and their biology, and those that are not on your farm and the potential ways that you can easily avoid introducing those. Remember that Pfizer Animal Health are a major manufacturer of a number of common animal health products which can be used to manage common livestock diseases. We produce a range of livestock parasiticides such as Dectomax and a whole range of vaccines against common livestock diseases. We also are involved in genetic testing and can offer a range of potential genetic solutions, including horn poll testing. So in conclusion, the process that I've taken you through, followed correctly, can greatly assist you in defining the problems that are occurring in your herd. Once you've appropriately defined those problems, then potential lists of possible causes which are common in your area can then be assembled, and you can then work through a strategy of putting in place appropriate management strategies. So the steps that I've talked you through include collection of data using your records, then using that data to define issues by asking a series of questions around who is affected, what is the syndrome, where is it occurring, when is it occurring, and then hopefully being able to answer the question why. Finally, you can then put in place a strategy to manage the manageable. Focus on those things that you do have some control over. You can't manage the weather, but you can manage a lot of other aspects of your operation in order to ensure your long-term sustainability. Thank you for your attention.